My little crazy dance. Let me stop.
I know there's something, babe. I know say you like me. Your heart skip anytime I say nice things. Maybe with a shy sense.
Hey
You don't fake, don't say we
guys.
can't fight this. You
Just
didn't
trying
try
to
me. You be
have a
fight
little
boxes.
fun.
Without push, maybe we
Ginger
should try
myself a
practice.
little
We could
bit.
go
Get some
slow, like say we
energy
jump
out.
traffic. If they want talk shit, make we
You
buy
know,
half
this
it.
lockdown is so
I'ma
hard to
step
be
right through my
motivated
flow.
these
I didn't
days
wish I
and
could
try
help
to
that
find
thing I
something
fuck.
to
We take
do.
it further.
So
We could keys after.
this is
So
my
this
own
little boy fighting
motivation.
this.
So since the music has officially stopped, welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to the Full Circle with Aroma. And you can call me Aroma. Others call me Violet because that is my actual name. But you pick one, that's fine by me. I'm not super complicated. Well, to a certain extent. But thank you for stopping by. Thank you for coming to the Full Circle. I know I'm loving this top. My co-host, so I got Mr. Teddy in the white and the blue, and now I got Nuru the bear on the other end. Those are my co-hosts. Don't hate, appreciate. But so today I just want to talk about new development coming from Africa. So today let's talk about Botswana. So apparently Botswana, sorry if I'm looking down, I'm actually looking at my computer screen. So I'm trying to get some information at the same time. So Botswana has passed a new law. I don't know if it's officially passed yet, but I know it's on ground. So basically barring foreigners from owning and operating businesses. So I don't know if they're looking into 100% of the businesses, but I know they're focusing on a lot of the different sectors, and they're focusing on some are also like mainly on the essential businesses as well. So they're covering a lot of different sectors. So for those who don't know where or what Botswana is a beautiful country on the southern part of Africa. So I'm gonna look down on my computer screen because I want to be accurate with my information. So Botswana is right between Namibia and Zimbabwe. So it is, I believe, has a population of about 2.3 million people, apparently, and their official language is English. So Botswana, you guys please leave a comment. You can email us at fullcirclewitharama@gmail.com. And you can also follow us and contact us via Instagram at arama_full circle. Leave your comment. Let's have a discussion. Let's talk about it. How do you feel about this new law? For one, I love it. I am not from Botswana, but I am an African, and I just feel like African leaders, all the African countries need to pass these laws, because these laws are protecting the citizens. You have so many foreigners are flooding those countries. This country, mind you, this country just gained independence less than 60, 70 years ago. And as soon as they got the so-called independence, you have the countries who colonized them, like they said, they left through the front door, came back the back door. So when the colonization ended, then you had the neo-colonizations, which we are still in today. So African countries have never had a chance to actually stand up on their own and build their country. They have always been sabotaged from day one. Any leader who even attempts to keep the resources for their people, improve their countries, they are usually assassinated. They are killed off and then replaced with a puppet who would do the beating of the West or the Eastern government. This is what happens in all African countries. So for Botswana to pass this law, I am super excited. And all African leaders need to look into this and do the same thing. So these laws will protect businesses, and it will protect the Botswanans. I don't know if I'm saying that right. How do you say? Is it Botswanians? But help a sister out if you know, leave a comment. But it would protect the citizens of Botswana. So a lot of these businesses now in different sectors, especially like factory, like the small manufacturing businesses, like bread making. Like, could you imagine foreigners are coming to your country and making bread and selling it to you when you have all of these things and you can make these breads yourself? Stuff like baking, bread making, and all of these little things that you wouldn't even think about, that foreigners are coming into your country to do, but they are doing that. And I'm not against foreigners migrating. You know, obviously Africans are all over the world. You know, I'm Nigerian, so I can speak for Nigerians. We're everywhere. But where we go, we don't try to dominate those countries. We don't try to sabotage the citizens of those countries. We don't try to, you know, take over your government and control your government and try to impoverish the citizens of those countries. When most Africans migrate, they're migrating for, you know, better education, better financial stabilities. They're migrating because they have families back home that need us and we have to feed. So we're not going there to sabotage your countries and sabotage the citizens and try to steal from you. We are there just like hustling too, just like you're hustling. But a lot of these African countries, when foreigners go there, their main objective is sabotage. And most of them are backed by their government. The Europeans, the Chinese, the Indians, the Lebanese, they're backed by their government. The government make these shady deals with corrupt officials and then just bring their citizen in droves, and their main objective is to keep your people poor because then they have more control. So I love that Botswana has passed this law. So apparently they've been passing laws like these for a while, I guess, because it looks like in 2019 there was a proposed law that would ban foreigners from owning lands in Botswana. I don't know if they passed the law because I just heard this news this morning, so I haven't really had time to do proper research, which is why I'm scrolling through. I'm on my computer right now trying to like quickly Google some things and get more information. So apparently they had passed a law or proposed a law that would ban foreigners from owning land in Botswana. So you had to be a citizen of Botswana to own land. So now they're doing the business sector. I love it. And I would really love, like, if they would go back in time to colonial days, because these African countries, there are vast lands that are still held on to by the former colonial rulers, like in a country like Kenya and other countries that were colonized by the British, especially a place like Kenya. The royal family, the British royal family, still own a vast land in Kenya. They didn't pay for that land. They stole it when they massacred our people and committed genocide. So there are lands right now in different African countries that are still owned by the colonial masters. The lands are still held onto from the colonial era. And I would really love if Botswana would go back in time and start on doing these things. So land, if you cannot provide an authentic ownership, that you purchase the land at fair value from the people of Botswana, I'm sorry, that land is no longer yours. If you inherited that land and then we traced it back to colonial era, I don't care if it was your great grandfather who killed our people and took the land, and now now you're an anchor baby and you think you're a Botswanian because you were born there, because your freaking grandfathers and grandmothers and great grandparents murdered the people and took the land and then had children, and now you're now a descendant of those people, and you holding on to land that don't belong to you. And yes, I'm also speaking to the Mzungus in South Africa. That land is not yours. I don't care how you inherited the land, but the original ownership of that land belongs to the people, and you did not purchase that land. If you inherited that land and the land was stolen to begin with, then it's not yours. It should be taken away. That's just how I feel. Because if the land had not been stolen from the people, you would not have inherited it. So I really wish that Botswana would go back in time and go back to those colonial businesses. Believe it or not, guys, there are businesses that existed during colonization that are still around today. that are still around today in many African countries, European businesses. And I'm gonna try to look up one because I know there's one in that there's like a soap making company where they used to steal a lot of palm nuts and palm oil from different countries, West African countries, especially Nigeria. So these businesses are still around, and sometimes they just change the name, so you don't realize they're racist and murdering and genocidal history, and then you still do business with them, and you don't know that these people raped and murdered your people literally like 70 to like freaking 80 years ago. So I love this new law. I commend Botswana for doing this, and I feel like this is my opinion. I know I talk a lot with my hand. I'm sorry. I used to live in Italy. This is how we talk, so I can't help it. I would try to be more calm and collected, like they do on the news, but nah, I doubt it. But so Botswana, it's my opinion. I feel like I would go a step farther and in that law and put indigenous people only, indigenous Botswanians only. Why did I say indigenous? There are many foreigners, like especially when it comes to the Muzungus and the Chinese, the Lebanese, the Indians. A lot of them did not obtain citizenship the legal way. A lot of them actually had to bribe officials. So some of them, especially when it comes to the Chinese, now you hear stories of how they're just wreaking havoc all over Africa. Many of these people have fake papers. They are printing IDs, fake IDs in Africa. They are printing fake paperwork. So a lot of these people did not go to Botswana and do the groundwork and invested in the country and and go the legal route to obtain citizenship. They just bribed officials, and officials just gave them citizenship. So even though this law protects the citizens of Botswana, but what are the percentage of Botswanan citizens? Like, I guess my question is, how many foreigners have citizenship in Botswana? So if the law is to protect the indigenous people of Botswana, but if you have a large number of foreigners who have citizenship, and many of them are extremely racist, and this is true, they hate us, but they love our resources, and this is a fact. So I would feel like they should go a step farther and say indigenous people. You have to have indigenous blood. That might sound harsh, but for me, I feel like African nations have never had the chance to grow. They never had the chance to rise up. They never had the chance to build their industries without sabotage by the former colonial countries and the Western countries and Eastern countries and whatnot. So I feel like this is the time where we should be going into protection mode and making laws that benefit the indigenous people first and then everybody later. So if you are a citizen of Botswana and you are not an indigenous person, then maybe you have to get special permission to own businesses. Maybe you have to prove, first of all, that your citizenship was valid. So how did you gain the citizenship? Did you marry a Botswanan? Like, how did you obtain this citizenship? What kind of procedures did you have to undergo? Or did you just bribe someone to take it, to get it? So I feel like it should be focused more on the indigenous people, and then the citizens who are not indigenous. For me, I feel like this is like the ultimate way to protect the people of Botswana. I know there are some mixed feelings. Unfortunately, we have a lot of Africans, or I would say people from Botswana, who feel like, oh, competition is good. We do need the foreign competition. Like, guys, this is not competition. When someone is coming to your home to dominate, they're not coming to compete with you. They're coming to take over. It is not a competition. You cannot, a small country like Botswana with 2.3 million population cannot compete with a giant country like China, cannot compete with the US, cannot compete with the European nations. It is not competition. It's like putting a child in front of Mike Tyson and say, this is a fair boxing match. Who's gonna win? Botswana is that child, and these other countries are Mike Tyson. You will never win. It is not a competition. These people have had time to develop their countries. They've had time to develop their skills. They've had time to plot. These are people that colonize other nations. They still have that colonial mentality. So they're not just gonna stop and just suddenly respect Africans. We were their slaves, for crying out loud. We were their slaves. So don't think they're coming into your country because they love you. No, they're coming there to rob you, take your resources. And they don't want you to ever be able to stand up to them. They don't want you to ever improve, because the bigger, the stronger you get, the more competition you are, and the less they can steal from you. So don't say you welcome competition. Like, I feel like we need to start, focusing more on protectionism. Once you've developed your industries, once you've built up your industries, and you've gained the knowledge and the ability to really stand on your own and be able to compete, then you can invite these people in to compete with you, because now you are now you are in a better position to compete. But right now, a lot of African countries don't have these major industries, and then you having these former colonial masters coming in and dominating and trying to keep your countries and your people down. That is not competition, guys. This is domination. It's domination. Unless you start standing up and you start making laws like this, you will remain in that position. So I commend the people of Botswana for passing this law. Another, I wouldn't say it's a reservation, it's more of a thought. So because I just thought, so when I heard this, I said, well, who do they consider foreigners? So are they also considering other African people foreigners? Are the foreigners, are they considering the Muzungus, the Asians, and the Lebanese, and all of these people foreigners? Or are other African people also considered foreigners? So that's a question that I have. If you're from Botswana, or if you know more about this law, please leave a comment. That was one of the first questions that came to mind was, are Zimbabweans in Botswana considered foreigners? Are people from South Africa in Botswana considered foreigners? Are Nigerians in Botswana considered foreigners? So I know, like, yes, definitely put the law for the indigenous people. But when you say foreigners, like, are these laws also preventing other Africans from owning businesses in Botswana, or are there concessions made for other Africans, other indigenous Africans in Botswana? I want to give a little background on Botswana. I know it's a little late. I think their major money makers are the mining sectors. So they have a lot of different mines, and so apparently Botswana has diamonds. They have a lot of natural resources, like they have copper, gold, nickels, and stuff like that. And most importantly, they have a lot of diamond. So I did not know that. So apparently the diamond mines are the leading part of the mineral sector. So apparently Botswana is currently the world's leading producer of diamonds by value. The world's leading producer of diamond. That's Botswana. And you would be, well, I guess not surprised that most of these mines are foreign owned, obviously. So the people of Botswana don't really benefit from the diamond mining at all, as most African countries. So this is why I love that this law is coming into effect and would help the people of Botswana. I just wish they would go back farther, and like the different companies that were there from the the colonial era, and start looking into like pulling some of these contracts. Like, no, 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 you didn't get this legally. You got this business when we were still oppressed and slaves. So technically, we did not agree to you for you to have this business. So nope, take it back, take it back, take it back. Another reason why I'm so happy that Botswana passed this law is that African nations have been sabotaged for so long. I mean, I'm talking about major international criminal organizations like the United Nations, the IMF, the World Bank, World Health Organization. A lot of all these so-called organizations, like guys, these I call them criminal organizations. They were Most of these were created why we were still slaves, why the African people worldwide were still slaves and colonized. So obviously, these organizations were not created for us. They were not created by us. They were not created to benefit us. They were created to benefit the Europeans. So when you now try to rely on these organizations to solve issues in your country, or to look out to them for advice on healthcare and all of these things. I mean, these are things that were created to oppress you. So when you talk about the IMF, I mean, the IMF is like another arm of the World Bank, which is another arm of the UN, used to destroy African economies. Because after the I guess liberation of the African nations, suddenly the IMF wanted to give us loans. No, the IMF was literally just there to destroy the economies, and they opened up African countries for all their colonizing, like I call them colonizing companies, to set up shop and dominate our different industries, and we are still suffering from those things today. Not only did they do that, they destroyed our currencies. They forced African nations to devalue their currencies, and Nigeria was one of them. After liberation, Nigeria's currency was bigger than the US dollar. We were spending pounds in Nigeria. The Nigerian money was being spent in the UK. Nigerian 1 naira was bigger than the dollar. And Nigerian leaders were coerced to devalue our currency as part of receiving the so-called IMF funding. So the IMF basically controlled the economy. They controlled every businesses. They controlled everything we did. They told you to devalue your currency. They told you to open up your economies and your market to their own industries, without which they used to dominate and prevent African industries from ever being developed and being supported. And this is where we find ourselves today. So guys, there are Chinese people in African countries selling things on the streets. These are things that normal Africans were doing to survive. They are selling roast corn on the street corners. They are boiling corn, selling it on the street corner. They're selling those minor tomatoes and little things on the street corner. They're selling street foods. This is what many Africans were using to survive. They were going out there selling small things. Imagine going out and you seeing the Chinese on your street corner selling the stuff that your own people used to sell. And unfortunately, Africans still patronize them. It's like me going to Niger. I want some suya. I would not go out to buy suya and it's a Chinese man that is selling suya. So let me use my Niger accent for this one. Imagine being a Nigerian and you go to Niger, you go out to go and buy suya. And you get there. Na Shinko, they sell the suya. Will you buy it? No, absolutely not. First of all, you don't know what's in that meat. That could be dog meat and God knows what. And at the same time, you just took a vital business from a Nigerian citizen. Do not patronize them, guys. Don't put your money there. Find your own people that sell the same product and buy it from them. Like, I will now go to Niger to buy roast corn. And Nashinko, they sell the corn. You dey craze? So it will be a Chinese or a Lebanese or an Indian that is now standing on the street corner selling roast corn, selling suya, selling puff puff, selling meat pie, selling kuli granuts. These things that the average and the poorer Nigerians are using to survive. Can you imagine going to the markets? Na Shinko, they sell tomato, pepper. the things that our grandmothers and the markets women and the regular citizens are using to survive. You want to buy Zobo. Like some African Americans have always talked about this. Support your own people, support your own businesses. These people are coming into your communities, they set up businesses. That money is not circulating in your communities at all. The money is taken back to their own communities, to their countries. They don't invest in your communities. You have so many Chinese restaurants and beauty supply stores in the black communities. When you give them that money, it goes to the Bank of China. Most of them bank with China. And they don't even live in those communities. That's the funny part. They don't live in the communities where they have businesses. So they never invest in the communities. They never build anything in the communities. They just come to pack the money and go. That's it. So, like, and I'm not racist. I'm not trying to be racist, but it's about time that we start considering supporting our own people. We start talking about how do we improve the global black race, the global African race, the global African population. Because believe it or not, we are at the bottom of the bottom. They don't want us to succeed because they know that, hello, they need Africa to survive. These people cannot survive without the continent of Africa. And the moment they start seeing us rise, it scares them because then they can no longer steal our resources. Can you imagine buying an Apple computer if Apple actually has to pay fair market price for those resources that they're taking from the Congo and from other African nations? Like the chip in the Apple computers and phones and devices, the metals that are making those chips are coming from the Democratic Republic of Congo and other African nations. And that's why there are always civil wars and people are always being murdered. And then suddenly you get, oh, Ebola popped up at another African country, or the Congo Ebola. Now the Congo got Ebola. And when you look at the regions, it's always the regions with the most resources. And before I close, I also love to talk about our humanitarian efforts. I'm trying to help out the global African populations. So we have some people that are struggling right now, especially during the virus. We have people in Africa, in Haiti, in Jamaica, in other, global African countries that are really going through a lot of tough times right now. So I have been working with Doops's Kitchen. Shout out to Doops's Kitchen. She got her Instagram handle. On this platform, I'd like to focus more on the skill building, education, and shelter. So I don't want to just give you a fish. I want to teach you how to fish. Once you've learned how to fish, I want to help you by giving you the tools that you need to fish on your own. So if you can help out, I would really appreciate it. Cash App, Venmo, even if it's $5, $1, whatever you have. I know we are all going through it right now. I am in furlough right now. I'm not working currently. And for those in America, unemployment right now is slow. Over 30 million people applied for unemployment, like literally in the same month. So even though you are approved for unemployment, I still have not received my first check. I don't have any income coming in. So whatever I had before, I tried to help out and send to some people. But I'm also struggling too. So whatever I can give, I try to give. So I understand that people are going through a lot. But, the things that I had to keep telling myself is like, no matter how bad I thought it was for me, there are people that are even having it worse than that. People have it 100 times worse. Imagine living in those countries right now. There's no stimulus package. There's no government help. There's nothing. And you're in a shutdown, you're in a lockdown. You're stuck at home. You can't make money. You can't go out to do anything. People that were already suffering before the lockdown, now they're stuck at home and dying and starving. So these are things that I think about every day, and I feel like more of us, by us I mean the Africans, have to start contributing to our own people. We need to break that white savior mentality nonsense that it's not just in Africa but in other African dominated countries like the, Jamaica, Haiti, all of these other countries. This white savior mentality or foreign savior mentality. I want our people to start seeing us doing these things when someone brings AIDS or they bring medicine or they bring food. It should be our faces that they see, not foreigners. This is how they're going to respect our own people more. This is how they're going to see themselves in us. These are things that I'm really passionate about, and I would really appreciate it if you could help us out, support us. Even if you don't have any money, share the videos, share the content, subscribe to our channels, follow us on Instagram. Just help us, support us, whichever way you can. That's enough motivation for me to continue to do what I do and love. Thank you guys again. I know I've blabbed on for so long. I really appreciate you watching this video. Please share this video. Let us know what you think about the new law in Botswana. I am excited. I love it, but there are mixed feelings, which I understand. Let's hear each other out. Let's not argue, but debate and discuss. Thank you guys. I love you. See you next time in the Full Circle with Erma. Bye.